Éire, and welcome to the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, slicing into the GAA of the past, present and future. Join me, Jason Keelan, as we cut into the largest loaf of bread known to mankind.
Hello, Diagwich, bonjour, Ni-hao, konnichiwa, guten tag and privyet to you all wherever you're listening in. What started as a message to 10 clubs has now expanded to more than 50 clubs globally from all continents. The journey through Loaf 2 GAA Global continues this week as we move on to our next destination in the GAA world. So come with me on the GAA journey of a lifetime and meet clubs from Canada to Argentina, South Africa to Gibraltar, Bermuda to the North Pole, New Zealand to Kuwait, Knoxville to Qatar, and literally everywhere in between. So grab the passports, grab the bags, it's time to go. Ni-hao everyone, and you're welcome to Slice 6 of the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast. On Slice 6 of GAA Global, we fly from the beautiful and historical Poland across the globe to where our journey continues in the amazing China. We land in the city of Suhju and meet Irishman Conor and Australian man Jesse from Suzhou Eire Og. We find out all about the GAA in the world's most populated country, the rivalries and friendships with the likes of Beijing, Shanghai and Shunde Gaels, among others, the transfer of Aussie Rules skills to GAA, the Pulp Fiction Niteclub, the Waterford Wanderly Wagon bus driver Shay, Jesse moving to Cambodia GAA soon, Mayo legend Ciaran McDonald installing pipelines, the passion of the Adelaide Crows fans in Oz, and some of the other key issues of the day, like whether the Great Wall is really great, if pork or Irish stew is better, and of course the main question, the Chinese, are they really a great bunch of lads as Father Ted said they were? But first, as usual, let's take our trip around the city of Suzhou in China and find out all about the life in the land of the so-called sleeping giant. Bon Sultas.
The clever combatant looks to the effect of combined energy and does not require too much from individuals, hence his ability to pick out the right men and utilize combined energy. When he utilizes combined energy, his fighting men become as it were like unto rolling logs or stones.
The quote you heard there was from the famous Art of War by Chinese great Sun Tzu. Somehow there's a GAA feel to it in many ways. Kinda sounds like Paddy or Miko picking a team back in the day. The song you hear in the background is called Falling by a Chinese artist called Corky. I won't lie, I was torn between this and something by a band called Tank. It was one of those tough choices of life, but I went for Corky in the end. So slightly west of Shanghai Airport is the city of Suzhou, on the banks of several bodies of water, including Lake Tai, Chengdu Lake and Yangchen Lake. The beauty of nearby Shanghai is mirrored in Suzhou in many ways, particularly in the incredible cityscape views at night, something I remember fondly from Shanghai back in 2009. The entire Suzhou region takes in about 10 million people and has grown vastly since its early days. Founded in the 5th century BC, Suzhou has always been a progressive area. In fact, in the earliest centuries AD, it was among the largest cities not just in China, but in the world, and was once the largest non-capital city globally. All this while retaining its status as being the so-called Venice of the East, due to its use of waterways and amazing green and garden spaces. One of the bodies of water is the Yangtze River. This is the longest river in Asia, the longest river within a single country in the world, and home to the Three Gorges Dam, the largest hydroelectric power station in the world, and in my view, the best. Like most of the Chinese history, Suzhou has gone through many rulings over different dynasties, from the Qin dynasty to the Tang and Ming and beyond. In 1937, just before World War II, Japan invaded the area and destroyed many of the now famous gardens. Today, these gardens, more than 60 of them, make up a collection of the largest UNESCO gardens on planet Earth. Names such as the Couples Retreat Garden or the Lingering Gardens are well known in the area and by tourists to the region from near and far. Equally well used and maintained are the streets and their adjacent rivers. It was the legendary explorer himself, Marco Polo, who coined the term Venice of the East, and today you only have to take a trip down one of the rivers to see the resemblance. Of course it also helps if you've been to Venice, but anyway. And of course on those trips, Polo would have encountered the famous Chinese silk, which is still a huge part of the industry in Suzhou today. And as if that wasn't enough, there's even the Leaning Tower of China, Yunnan Pagoda on top of the famous Tiger Hill in the area, is named so due to its leaning, like its namesake Pisa in Italy. However, it's victory for Italy on this one here, as their tower leans approximately 5.5 degrees, whereas Yunnan only leans 3. As for Suhju and sporting or famous icons, I'm a little bit stuck. Other than former world number 1 female badminton player Wang Shixian, I didn't recognise a single name, and to be honest I only barely knew hers. But outside of sport, there are a couple of names worth mentioning. Firstly, the quote you heard at the start was from the iconic Art of War by Sun Tzu. Tzu was a military leader in China around the 6th century BC, and among other things he wrote this famous military tactical book, which is considered to be one of the great books on strategy in war and other areas. Tzu's birthplace is said to be in the region of Suhju. The final name is Ling Wan. No, not the panda from Anchorman movies. Suhju native Ling Wan was more commonly known as Thomas Dow. He was a medical specialist who pioneered the treatments that exist today for breast cancer. In the past, the main treatment as such was a mastectomy, a full removal of the breast and surrounding muscles. But Dow worked with Charles Huggins, a doctor in America, a man who would go on to win the Nobel Prize. Through his work and studies, Dow managed to slowly convince the public in America that a considered approach could save needless extreme surgeries and give women more of a chance to decide on their own course of treatment based on the issues they had. Today, Dow's method is still the main approach to breast cancer treatment in the world. Suzhou Eire Og began in 2009 and runs strong today. As I now boast a shirt thanks to Conor and Jesse, I can say they are now my China GAA team of choice. The club's existence on the outskirts of Shanghai region is boosted by players from Ireland, China, Africa, Australia, Europe and America. A serious mix. The team always holds their own on the field, and given their motto, Suhju always wins the party, one could be forgiven for thinking that a night out with Conor, Jesse and the gang will be something special indeed. The Tom Coyle Invitational event began in 2018 and has been the feature of the club since. Just recently in May, the latest instalment occurred, and judging by the photos on Instagram and the ones Conor sent me, it looks every bit as good as any GAA event in the world. And so it is to the sound lads in Suzhou Eire Og in China. Officially now that Conor and Jesse have sent me a polo shirt, I guess that makes me part of the club. So let's meet my new teammates, who I haven't actually met yet in person. Jesse and Conor from Suzhou Eire Og. Just a quick note, the internet here in Mullingar that day wasn't quite on my side, and sadly the first couple of minutes failed miserably. So we catch up with the guys a couple of minutes in. Enjoy. Hey guys, is that any better?
Yeah, yep. We can hear you anyway.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what the story is with the Irish internet. I did a project back in college about 20 years ago on the Irish internet, and I think it still is as bad as it was 20 years ago. So nothing has changed in my eyes.
Yeah. Can I give them a bit of advice, perhaps?
Yeah, I wouldn't even be bothered. They won't listen anyway. So, yeah, sorry. The last thing I was saying to you, Conor, was is the weather a massive factor? Is it much of a factor in the internet providing as it is here in Ireland by the looks of it?
The weather, yeah, not massively. We'd have a few kind of rainy. The rainy season can be quite wet. But all the pitches we play on here are artificial. It's all AstroTurf. So in terms of kind of playing surfaces, it doesn't make a wild amount of difference. We'd more so go by the school holidays here. Obviously, we're training in the school and playing in the school, and a lot of the members would be teachers. So we're kind of following that sort of schedule. But it does get savage, hot and humid in the summer,
yeah.
Which can be rough going at times.
Yeah, I'd imagine that. I remember being out there at the time. It was in the middle of summer, and trying to go up the Great Wall of China in the heat was not enjoyable.
Yeah. No, it's savage. Jesse can't get enough of it. Clearly,
I was going to say Jesse's probably a bit more used to it than you would be, and I would be.
Yeah, well, I can, I enjoy a bit of. I don't get sunburnt when I turn the lights on in my house, like Connor.
That's a great line. I got to use that as the tagline for this episode. I think getting sunburned with the lights on. Yeah, that's a good one. Do you guys have a particular local that you go to for celebrations or drowning the sorrows after defeats or anything like that?
Yeah, we do. One of our sponsors is the Butcher's Hook, which is one of the local watering holes. So we haven't been able to celebrate or commiserate too much recently, given the pandemic. But that's the first spot to go.
And what's a good night out like?
Well, it'd ultimately start with a victory, but so we found other ways to have a good night out because they're few and far between. But usually, like if we're coming back from a weekend game or something, we'll head to the Butcher's Hook and have a few pints and a bit of a feed and stuff, and then move on elsewhere to other places. Sometimes we go down to Bar Street, which is close by there. The sponsor, the guy that owns the Butcher's Hook, he's got a nightclub down there, Pulp Fiction.
Great name.
Yeah. So some of the younger members tend to go there. But it just really depends on where we've been. Like obviously Suzhou's it's a small city for China. It's a it's a massive place compared to Ireland. So we've got a lot of members like Connor. He lives across in Suzhou New District, which is essentially another city of 3 million people. So he's across that side. So often we'll try and have some do's here and there where we might go over to a few bars or restaurants over that side, save those members traveling across. Because you're looking at probably by the time you come across, what do you say, Connor, about 45 minutes from your side of town over to where we train? And
yeah, it's about that. It's a really kind of sprawling city. We do have members all over the place. But that's another thing. It can be tough to get people out training.
I was going to say, like a 45-minute journey isn't. I know over here, maybe in Ireland, like for me, that's a commute in the morning to Dublin. But that's quite a journey, I suppose, when you're going across a big city for people going training.
Well, it's absolutely an adventure. We have a bus driver in the club. He's a fella from Waterford, and he has his own Wanderly Wagon.
Wow!
So a load of us pile into that, and he has like disco lights inside and everything. So get the party started on the way to training.
Does he play on the team as well, or?
Oh, he does, of course. Yeah. He's probably one of our oldest members now, but he's probably the last man you want to tangle with. to put it politely.
Yeah, he'll go. He spends the majority of training explaining to people, how to do it, and they go through, and then it's like someone just flicks a switch and he goes full beast mode where he'll be cannoning into people, and usually, 2 or 3 will end up with injuries if he's decided to hit beast mode at training.
It sounds like this man is the answer to one of the questions that's about to come up in a couple of minutes. So we might have to revisit this Waterford bus driver lunatic man in a few minutes. So your rivalry then, Jesse, with Shanghai, have you much to celebrate, or is it a very, as you said, London versus Dublin type thing?
Look, on the pitch, it's London versus Dublin. I guess in my experience with sport, back home in Australia with Aussie Rules and cricket in particular, where sport's that real social sense, and you can go at it on the field, but off the field, you have a laugh, you have a beer together, and you look forward to the next time you play. And I guess that there was a little bit of that missing from the relationship with Shanghai, and may have been the result of certain individuals from both sides, but me, a lad that sort of
wasn't Connor, right? Fair enough.
No, but Ciaran, the lad in Shanghai, we've sort of spent the last 3 or 4 years really trying to work on that relationship where we're supporting each other on different things and really bringing a community atmosphere here. Sort of, I think for a little bit they forgot the point of it all was to promote Gaelic football and sort of pass that on to as many people as you can. So it's been really good, and we go in there and have a good laugh, and they've got about 50 odd coming out for the tournament in a couple of weeks, and they're all sort of staying at hotels in Suzhou so they can get on it and have a real good laugh and good crack.
Okay, so we need to have a word with the Shanghai lads about their attitude in the past. Okay, we'll have to get them on and give out to them for a little while. So,
is this the first bit of drama you've had on the podcast?
No, actually, funnily enough, I've had random bits of like stories that have come out. Have been some of them have been outrageous. Like my favorite one, I have to be honest to say, one of my favorite ones so far. Like you guys, I think are number 6 in the line. The best I've had so far was I had the guys from Zaragoza in Spain on, and they had 2 great stories. One wasn't so much a story as much as just a character, a bit like your Waterford bus driver, I think, in a couple of minutes. But their goalkeeper Alan once fell asleep in the middle of a match on the goal line, and I said I'm gonna need some proof that this guy actually exists. And about 5 minutes after we hung up, the guys had all sent me photos of this is Alan, so I now know who Alan is. And the other story they had, which I don't know if you guys have any similar matches like this, but somehow the guys in Spain needed to win a match by 36 points to qualify, and they won by 37, which I can't. That isn't sitting well with me at the moment. I can't figure that one out. Have you guys had any sensational victories, Connor, that you can think of offhand? Or
I have to think about that one. Unfortunately, we've kind of had some nothing massive like that, but we've had some pretty sweet victories in tournaments where we wouldn't necessarily be the favorites.
Yeah.
So
who stands
generally
out?
Travel to the down in Shanghai at the China Games. It would have been 2 or 3 years ago now. We gave a pretty good account of ourselves.
Nice.
We battled hard. We played the side from Beijing. We played Shanghai side. And
on the international side, do you get to take on many teams? Say like Jesse, have you managed to get a hold of taking on any of the Aussies?
No, we've had a couple of games, sort of in just little tournaments in Shanghai against like the Shanghai Tigers. They're the Aussie Rules team in Shanghai. So sort of they get on and play footy, but I guess I haven't actually had the opportunity to go off to the All Asias or anything yet, because they don't sit really well as a teacher.
Okay.
Because you've got to get in, if you're telling your principal, I need a couple of days off to go and drink a copious amount of beer and attempt to play football.
I was going to say, kick a football in between. Yeah. Yeah.
They sort of say, yeah, right, whatever. Yeah, you're coming to work.
Yeah.
And obviously, sort of thinking it was going to be my last year in China, I'd made a point of saying, right, well, last year in China, I'm definitely going to the All Asias, and I can't believe the extent that the school went to stop that happening with the pandemic. So I didn't get to do that.
Yeah, it was as if the school planned the pandemic somehow, that they went, no, Jesse's trying to go to the Asian Games. We need to do something to stop this. Let's unleash a pandemic on the world to make sure that he doesn't get anywhere. Yeah. that sounds
even worse. That sounds even worse now that my school's in China.
Yeah, I know, it probably does actually. Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah. I'll have to keep an eye out for the All Asian Games eventually when they get going, and just put up a flag, Jesse should be here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. hopefully moving to Cambodia, they've got a team there, so hopefully the dream can continue of getting there one day.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. What is bringing you to Cambodia? Just out of interest, is it teaching or?
Yeah, teaching. So just change of scenery. My wife, she doesn't particularly like the cold weather, so
okay,
she's absolutely gunning for it to have year round 34 degrees.
Yeah. And is it out to? Are you going to Phnom Penh, or where are you going to?
Yeah, to Phnom Penh. So
yeah, lovely place.
That'll be good. Yeah. And then it's sort of 4 hours down to the islands and stuff. So handy for getaways.
Yeah, not so bad.
This part in China, we're close to Shanghai, which is obviously on the coast, but it's just it's not a beach you'd go to swim at. It's a shipping lane.
Yeah, and they're rivals, and you don't want to talk to them. Yeah, I understand. That's totally normal. Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
very low profile when we cross the Suzhou Shanghai border.
Yeah. No, your rivalry with them is kind of interesting. It's probably, I suppose, of the 5 or 6 clubs so far, it's probably the most maybe like intense sounding rivalry I think that I've come across so far. The rest are all so far kind of like, yeah, we got rivalry, but it tends to be very, very one sided. So
yeah. And you don't
What's
have
good for us
too many
here
clubs to choose from.
Yeah.
Choose the local.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, that's the beauty for us with Shanghai is we're quite close, whereas a lot of the other teams in China they don't have those teams right by them. I guess the other, like down in Shenzhen and with Shunde and Guangzhou and stuff, they've got that, but otherwise you're quite spread out. So it does take on those big tournaments for people to come together.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, I'm intrigued about this rivalry. I have to kind of look into it a bit more after we're done as well. So, Conor, are you still keeping up to date with Mayo's ongoings at home before the COVID hit?
Yeah, I kind of took mercy on myself and tried not to follow them too closely.
Always a good idea.
Stress in my life. Yeah, they have a good young setup now, so I'm hopeful that something will change eventually somehow.
Yeah, I've been listening to Mayo fans say that. I think it's like the mid 1960s. I think because I've been hearing that phrase a lot. Yeah, do you really think the All Ireland is eventually going to get across into Connacht?
I've been studying the law of averages. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think the law of averages applies when Dublin are playing somehow. That's the only problem. So,
no. Well, it was interesting.
Go on. Yeah.
Sorry, we recently met the new Irish ambassador to China,
okay,
Derwin, at a function up in Shanghai. And her husband is a Dublin man, and he was kind of hinting at the fact that unless Dublin are divided, like they're just gonna win around them every year. And I tend to agree with him. Like it's just unbelievable their setup.
Yeah, the Dublin divide is still it's a topic that appears. It'll appear again in 2 weeks' time when the league starts back. So I expect to be hearing a bit more of it. All right. Do you guys have I have to ask all the clubs, I suppose? Jesse, do you have much problem with fundraising?
It's a weird thing here. We sort of do a little bit of fundraising here and there. Like we have we sell some gear and stuff when we have a tournament. Have a St. Patrick's Day raffle, that type of thing. But I guess we rely a bit more on sponsorship, and I guess that's where we sort of did it a little bit differently this year. When Conor and I were, or last year when Conor and I were talking about it, we did it a little bit differently this year, rather than sort of rely heavily on a bar to be the main sponsor. We sort of branched out a little bit and sort of went more sponsors for a bit less, which ended up sort of going pretty well. A couple of players on the team. One's from England. His company. They sort of chucked in a bit of money, which is good. Then obviously the Butchers hooked through in a bit as well. So we sort of spread it out a bit. And it's allowed us to be pretty financially secure.
That's good, yeah.
Which is good. And then obviously
our crazy Waterford bus driver, he's actually an entrepreneur in Suzhou, so he has his own company, which is not a taxi service, by the way. He has a web design company, and he's our main sponsor this year. He's put in quite a substantial amount.
I was going to say that when you told me about this crazy Waterford bus driver, first, the last thing I think I expect you to say he is a web designer.
Yeah, he's actually an onion of a man. There's a lot of
many layers. Yeah,
and he'll make you cry.
That's pretty good. Yeah, you don't, Conor. You guys obviously don't do the traditional GAA thing of putting out a book of lotto tickets every week and run around the streets and knocking on people's doors selling tickets. Now,
no, we tried, but it's just pure exhaustion. There's too many doors. There's millions and millions of people.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I know. I always ask every club because it's just, I think it's such an Irish thing just to go around selling tickets at like a bar. You know, when someone's buying a pint, you know, you just throw them a book and say, "Here, buy 3 of those."
Yeah.
It clearly doesn't happen abroad. It's so far. It's definitely been a no from everybody.
No monster raffle.
No,
we don't have any caps to give away. That's the problem.
Yeah, so that's also the problem, I suppose. Yeah. Do you remember your debut, Conor? Your first game?
Yeah, I believe it was up in Shanghai, actually. I didn't really know what to expect. At the time when I arrived, we weren't blessed with many numbers. We weren't blessed with, no offense intended, but there weren't too many good footballers either. So it was a bit of a baptism of fire. But just the thing that kind of struck me about it was you're playing with people from all over the world and all over Ireland, and it was just a really kind of positive experience. I was kind of fresh off the boat at the time, so I would have been playing a bit at home, and I was able to fit in over here, which was nice.
What position were you?
Yeah, I was kind of around the middle. I remember the first day I came down to training, David, who we've mentioned before, he was taking the team at the time. And a ball rolled over to me as I was walking through the gate, and I kicked it back to him. And he said, "If you can kick the ball to me there, I'll stick you right into midfield."
Brilliant.
That's an indication. Whereas at home, I'd be kind of warming the bench a lot of the time.
So the recruitment policy is essentially, we're just going to roll footballs up to people on the street, and if you can kick it back, you're in.
Yeah,
pretty much.
What's worrying about that is didn't yield any other results.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, Jesse, do you remember your debut?
Yeah, I'd obviously sort of I'd come to training once, and then had a bit of an injury playing soccer, and I got sort of all my teeth smashed out.
Okay.
And that's when I thought, well, you know, it's a mugs game, that one. So, but it took me about 2 years, like with like bone grafts and stuff, to sort of get that sorted. So then, yeah, I decided, right, well, football, it's a lot closer to Aussie rules. That's more natural to me. I don't have to learn as much, I guess, with that whole multi-directional hand pass kicking sort of stuff. Yeah, so all China's, I think, was my first one. But I remember the training on the Tuesday before that. Our bus driver, he put up a high bomb, and I'd just sort of gone to casually take it over my head, and landed right on the end of my hand. And I looked down, it was like a game of pick-up sticks. There was fingers going in all sorts of directions. And I called Dave over, and I said, "Oh, shit, I don't think that looks good."
He's like, "No shit, really, I
think." So we sort of taped it up, and sort of I tried to persist with training for a little bit, but then so by the time that Saturday at the All Chinas, I just whacked a glove on and taped them up around over the glove. So
a proper GAA
player. When you only have about 3 or 4 games a year, you're not going to miss out on them. So
yeah, what's a few broken fingers anyway in a Gaelic football match? So
exactly.
Better than breaking your teeth. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm bringing up painful memories, but what the hell happened in the soccer injury?
Oh, look, I was just, growing up playing Aussie rules, I sort of looked at soccer as a bit more of a non-contact sport, because I think technically in the rules it isn't. But just sort of casually took one sort of in the back line, sort of on the foot to clear it, and the next minute this bloody nutcase American guy comes charging through and collects me with his shoulder. So
wow.
2 fine football nations, America and Australia.
Yeah. It's very much. In fairness, I'd be rooting for.
I picked up my teeth
Tim
and
Cahill
abused. Yeah. So I made sure I picked up my teeth and then abused him as I went off. And the Dutch guy that was playing with he absolutely let fly. I'm sure there was some Dutch words said there that should never be repeated in a podcast.
Wow. Okay, that's it's pretty amazing. Yeah, as Connor said, yeah, it's kind of two of the stronger nations of soccer, America and Australia. Although I would, as I said, I would be rooting for you, as like Tim Cahill is one of the great Australian soccer players ever, and he was not afraid to go through people. So yeah, you can claim to be Tim Cahill, definitely. I think from now on. So that's a pretty.
I did make a point of when I gave him the dental bill the next time I saw him. So
did you actually?
I told him how much it was. I said you can contribute however you like.
And did you get anything off him?
No, but I think he was incredibly embarrassed.
Yeah, it's probably more just to hold it over him for the rest of his life. I would say that's probably more useful. Yeah. So yeah, I like that. Yeah. What was your early AFL experience, Jesse? Did you play much at home yourself?
Yeah, I played sort of growing up. Obviously, in country Victoria, every team, got the juniors, reserves, and seniors. So for Yak and Dander, playing under 14s, under 17s, reserves and seniors there. Played a bit down in Melbourne when I was at uni. Bit for my uni team in Wagga. Great name, the Bush Pigs, they were called.
Are they from Mayo or Australia?
So so it was good, and then played a bit of field hockey as well. But Aussie Rules was sort of more always a natural thing.
That's pretty.
So it was good to then get here, and sort of similar to Connor, sort of going to training and being used to kicking a ball, and hand passing as well. Dave was basically the same. He's like, right, well, you can kick a fair distance. You're in forward.
That's a pretty it's a pretty blunt assessment. Yeah, you can kick it far. We're going to make you a forward. Yeah,
that's as good as it gets.
But at the time, we were a good night at training. We'd have 4 people there, so we had we just sort of run it from one end to the other. We'd have a backman, 2 midfielders, and a forward, with you're not playing on anyone. And then if you had 8,
more like tennis, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So,
yeah, that
8 was a good night tough for training.
8, okay. Well, at least I suppose the numbers have grown enough that you can field teams nowadays, I suppose. Which is probably the most useful thing. Did you find, actually, Jesse, since I've asked this to a couple of others as well, did you find it easier from when you kick the ball long and excuse me, in Aussie Rules, you're not really sure exactly, if it's not marked, you're not sure where it's going to bounce. Did you find it a little bit easier in GAA that at least you could follow the trajectory of the ball?
Yeah, I guess the hardest thing I found at first was sort of the drop of the ball. Obviously, with the Aussie Rules ball, even though it's the oval, sort of it falls nicely. Whereas I tend to, with the Gaelic ball, it'd roll out the side a bit. So sort of made a real habit of rolling it out off the end of my fingers to get that straight drop. But yeah, definitely being able to anticipate that bounce. Obviously, you can learn it a little bit with Aussie Rules, but whenever there's a high bomb and it comes down, it's guaranteed to go at right angles from where you think it will go. So this was a lot easier.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, Connor, I have to go back to just the Waterford bus driver. Is he the club nutjob lunatic, or is there someone more?
Yeah, he's head and shoulders above anyone else, I would say. I think we could do a full episode on him, to be honest.
Okay. Right. Tell us a bit about him. Give us some background on a Waterford web designer, bus driver, lunatic in Suzhou in China.
Yeah, he was formerly in Spain before he came to China, and then he moved here for whatever reason. He's just a fantastic fella to have around the place because he has more energy than the rest of us combined, I think.
Right.
And he's always willing to kind of lend a hand. He's the wheels of the club. And then obviously the sponsorship is fantastic for us as well. It makes life a lot easier for us. But he can be a a bit frustrating at times with training if you're trying to explain something, because he just loves to talk, and you can be sure that he's off having a conversation with someone. God knows what about.
He's selling a website to somebody on the pitch.
Yeah.
They're just these random conversations.
Yeah. Probably my favorite story about Shay, though. Shay is his name.
Okay.
We had a Russian girl down. She used to play with us for a while, and she took a ball to the head at quite close quarters. So she hit the deck anyway, and we went over to see if she was all right. And turns out she had quite a bad concussion. So she was conscious, but she didn't really know where she was, or what day it was, or what time it was, or who anyone else was. So Shay, anyway, stuck her in the van, and a few of us went off to the doctors. And Shay had a brainwave. He could tell her anything he wanted if she couldn't remember. So he started getting onto her, and the poor thing, she was saying, "What day is it? What time is it? Like, where are we?" And my face, it's like, yeah. Don't worry about it. You're my wife. We're very happily married. You cook me spuds every night for dinner, and that's all there is to it. And
we've got 3 kids.
So he saw his opportunity, and he absolutely took it like any good cornerback would. He just flew in the gap.
Wow. He sounds like a legend.
Oh my Lord, yeah. But anyway, so when he took her to hospital and everything, and stayed the night, made sure she was okay. Like, just very, very genuine guy.
Yeah, he sounds like he's a bit of an all-rounder, in fairness, yeah.
Oh, he's great. But if people aren't from the club, like we've had some people sort of coming for the bus trip into Shanghai for some games and stuff, and they're sitting there, and coming back with Shay on the bus, and now he'll be like spinning some absolute random. You'd think he was on acid or something. Like, how many cans has this guy had? The guy doesn't drink.
Right. He's just full on.
So lunatic, it's like, Jesus.
Imagine if you did drink.
Probably make a lot more sense.
And is he, Connor? Is he more of a hurling man? Been from Waterford originally, or?
He is actually. Some of the moves he pulls on the GAA pitch, you can see he wishes he had a hurley in his hand.
Yeah,
the rest of us are very grateful that he doesn't.
This guy sounds like a legend. I kind of want a special episode at the end of this series of the podcast just with Shay from Waterford.
Yeah, well, he's a neighbour of mine. Next time I'll get him in.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. From doing the follow-ups, yeah, 100%. We'll definitely we'll get the 3 of you guys on. I think make for an interesting one. So yeah, I have to ask as well.
He's a hurling man.
Yeah, definitely. Whereabouts in Waterford is he from? Actually, do you know?
He's from the town.
Oh, the town. Okay, so he's a Viking at heart. So deep down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. There's a couple of quickfire questions that I do with every club, and then there's a few quickfire China special ones that every country kind of gets their own little section of ones as well. And if you guys are happy
now, please.
No, don't worry. I've been to China. I know. I know where the line is. Don't worry. So, yeah. So you've kind of talked about your toughest person at the club. Jesse, does the club have a good karaoke song or go-to song?
Yeah. Oh shit. We do. The club had some song. Like, there's this guy. He used to. Well, he's still there. He ran a couple of bars for a while. He's Mikey Tame. He's been there for a while, and just sort of sums up our club pretty well. That some of the longest serving members. He's from Newcastle in England, and he's got, what's his song, Connor, that he always sings? It's like one of those chants songs. Yeah, something like that.
What is it?
But
he has a.
We are from chant. That whole chant sort of thing. Like those.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh god, yeah. He loves pushing that, but we sort of reworded Depeche Mode.
Just can't get enough for one of those.
Just can't get enough. Yeah. So when I play for Suhju, I just can't touch the ball.
Oh, I definitely gonna have to I'm gonna have to find some way to edit that song with actual words in it like that and put it out with this podcast. That sounds brilliant. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's our sort of our go-to, because we can really I guess, adapt each verse to sum up the game. I just can't kick a goal.
Comes from the heart.
Yeah, that sounds deadly. Yeah, I really love that one. Yeah, Conor, have you introduced Jesse or any of the rest of them to Marty Morrissey or Des Cahill?
I'm sure, Jesse, you've heard a bit of Marty Morrissey. Jesse spent a bit of time in Ireland as well.
Okay, whereabouts in Ireland were you, Jesse?
I just drove around the country trying to find the mailbox. Basically, I was over there for a wedding. So sort of, I said to for my mate Dave's wedding, and I said, I'm thinking, we'll come over for 10 days. Do you reckon we could do this? He goes, I reckon you could do that twice. So
he's not wrong. Yeah, pretty much 10 days you could drive around the country several times.
Yeah. So when we set off, and it's like, right, we'll plan to go this far. We're going to go from Dublin over to Galway first, and sort of get there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you're looking at each other in the car. And it's like, righto, guess we're not driving any further today.
Yeah, so you got a proper Irish experience by the sounds of it. So yeah, you definitely driving around Ireland for 10 days, you'd see everything at least twice. I would say more than likely. Is there a club or county, I should say, Conor, if we put up Suhju against a county in Ireland, who would you most like to have a crack against?
Well, Kilkenny off the bat. Not that we'd have much of a chance, but I feel like it could be maybe a little bit competitive.
The Kilkenny footballers, I'm guessing, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Shay would have to take on the hurler.
Yeah, on its own, by the sounds of it. You would just be getting in the way. I think if it was a hurling match, you'd just feel like you were just, problems. He'd just rather take on the 15 on his own, by the sounds of it. So,
yeah. Although that's not a very new feeling.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. What's Jesse? What's Suhju most famous for particularly for people who are listening who won't have heard of it?
Well, it's a pretty famous city in China. It was often sort of referred to as the Venice of the East. I think it's the home of silk in China.
Okay.
So it's the old town. When you go into the old town, there's a heap of old canals and everything. And it's really famous amongst Chinese people too. A lot of Chinese people love at some point traveling and visiting Suzhou and going around all the old gardens and the old canals and that part. So we're pretty lucky that, before I came to China, I'd never heard of Suzhou. But it's quite a famous city.
Okay, yeah, sounds picturesque, is it?
Yeah, a lot of mountains and stuff on it.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to do a bit of tourism promotion for Suhju, and I'll have to do it for Cambodia as well. By the sounds of it, Jesse's going to be leaving soon enough as well. So there's
the good part about it, it's only 30. You get on the speed train, and it's only sort of 25-30 minutes, and you're in the heart of Shanghai as well. So it's really easy to sort of, if you are visiting Shanghai, to zip out to Suzhou.
Okay, that's 25 minutes, and that's what a 7-8 hour bus journey in Ireland. So by the sounds of it, definitely, yeah. It's not a 25-minute journey in Ireland, I would say. Conor, have you got a random one? I know, but I've asked everybody since I'm a huge fan. And maybe Jesse, you might be familiar as well. Have you got, Conor, a favorite Father Ted episode?
Yeah, I'd have to say kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse. That's one of my all-time favorites.
Brilliant. Have you introduced Jesse to it, or anyone else out there?
There's a few watch it. I've seen the odd episode. I'm not as, I guess, fanatical about it as our Irish members are.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Have you got a favorite GAA player in your lifetime, or who do you think has been the best GAA player in your lifetime?
I suppose
Aidan O'Shea doesn't count.
I think Ciaran McDonald is just such a classy player.
That's 2 out of 2 for Mayo people so far. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one of my earlier memories. My uncle and aunt lived down in Killala, and we were visiting them one day, and there was lads doing roadworks down at the bottom of the drive, and they were deep in a hole. We couldn't see who they were or what they were doing, but one of them sticks out his head, and it's the big blonde mop.
No way.
rare enough down there. And yeah, Ciaran McDonald was down digging in pipes or something. So I think I was absolutely mesmerized.
That's class.
This man with the wand of a left foot was.
Yeah, I was going to say,
down the end of the driveway.
Is he as good at installing pipes in the ground as he is at kicking with his left foot?
Well, last I heard, the house still had full running water, so he must have done something right.
I'll take that. Yes, Jesse, have you a favorite GAA player, or should I ask? Is it easier to ask who's the best AFL player ever?
No, look, I would say obviously
you can't say me, Jesse, either.
Yeah. You're the second best, Connor. I guess for like growing up a Melbourne supporter in Aussie Rules, and always, Jimmy Steins was always there.
Yeah.
So understanding that connection, the Irish experiment, as they call it, with Steins and Sean White coming out, both playing for Melbourne. I guess I've always sort of admired him and his ability to, really master two sports, and to come over and win the Brownlow medal. So the best and fairest player for the league in sort of his fourth year, shows what an athlete he is. And so also what he did for the game, for both codes, I guess, has been really good. So, and I know it's hard for, when you've got an amateur sport and you've got the lure of professional money in Australia, it's always hard, I guess, to try and keep the Irish lads in Ireland when they can come over and sort of for a few years and earn some coin. So
yeah, it's a big enough thing here as well, because like the school I teach in Dublin, Ciaran Kilkenny, teaches up the road and would have gone out as well, along with a lot of other players at the time. And as you say, it's just the lure of it. I'm a Crows fan because I've got family in Adelaide, and one of my favorite players, Eddie Betts, is definitely one of my favorites. But I think the best, I got off the plane in Adelaide. My uncle handed me a season ticket to the Oval, and I went straight on the bus to the Oval. And I think that was up there one of my greatest sporting experiences, because not just because I got to see the famous Nick Natanui in the flesh and the amount of ball he catches, but I was sitting next to a lady of 88 years of age who never misses a game. And and Connor would back me up on this, abusing the ref is pretty popular in GAA. She took it to a whole new level. Like by the end of the game, she was calling for blood off the referee. And I think that's Connor might back me up, but that's maybe a slight extreme for me. I was kind of half watching the game and half just staring at her, wondering how this woman is like not getting kicked out of the stadium for the things she was saying to the referee. Is that a thing in Australia that you just go for it, or?
Oh, you do. Like Adelaide, they're a different breed altogether. I would say they have this feel. They're on this. They have got themselves up on this pedestal because they weren't a convict settlement and all that sort of stuff. They were free settlers, so they've sort of always had this chip on the shoulder. But I mean, I've never been to the footy in Adelaide. My nan went once, and she said it was the only. She'd been to Perth, and she said they were idiots, but she said it was the only time she actually feared for her life was watching Richmond play in Adelaide, and the venom coming from the supporters there. So
yeah, like Connor is probably the same as me. I've been to a lot of GAA games, and you see everything from women and men just shouting mostly at the referee and telling them what they're doing wrong. But this woman she was out of her seat gunning for the referee's head at the end of the game. And I was like, I was kind of like, okay, this is a little bit extreme. If this is back in Ireland, someone would have heard you in a small stadium and you probably would have been arrested. So yeah, it was pretty fun. It's definitely a different experience, I think, for sure. The last few questions I have are the kind of China quickfire ones. Jesse, I'm going to reword this one slightly. So you have a choice between the Great Wall of China or the Great Ocean Road.
Or look, even coming from Victoria, I would say the Great Wall of China. It's pretty majestic. The Great Ocean Road, for me, is just another bloody road around the coast.
We had a fun bus driver who brought us around. So it was about 50 degrees and I climbed the Great Wall of China. So yeah, I'm torn between the two. To be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, the 12 Apostles on the Great Ocean Road are amazing, and some of the towns are good. But in terms of a drive, there's plenty of other drives in Australia that are much better.
Okay, I'll take your word for that. I remember the Great Ocean Road. I don't remember a lot of we tended to fly from place to place. So, Conor, if I change up for you, I suppose a little bit, you have a choice between the Great Wall of China or Newgrange.
I think Great Wall of China is just something that I would urge anyone to see.
Okay.
Once I've been there a few times now. If anyone ever visits me, I tend to whisk them off there immediately, whether they're willing or not.
Drop them at the bottom of it and just say, "I'll catch you in a few hours."
Yeah. No, it's just quite incredible. It's the extent.
And you would know it yourself, Jason, when you're sort of climbing up it and up onto it, and you say, "Oh yeah, it's not that big," but then you sort of look off in both directions, and it just goes off into the distance. That's when you see the grandness of it.
Yeah, it was kind of
nuts to think about how it was built.
Yeah, it's insane. And yeah, one of my favorite pictures actually is where it ends, just the ending of it right at the sea. I think that's such an amazing thing. It kind of gets overlooked, and not a lot of people kind of mention that it literally just stops at the water. So yeah, it's pretty cool in fairness. If I ask you, Conor, maybe I'll throw this one to you. We'll see if Jesse knows his soccer really. Conor, you can choose between the Terracotta Army or Jack Charlton's army. I
actually haven't seen the Terracotta Army yet, so I'll have to go with Jack Charlton's army.
Okay, good. Jesse, you familiar with Jack Charlton?
Yes. Look, obviously, if you're going off the individuals that all the Terracotta Army were based on, take them. But when they're just terracotta statues,
one of them is immortalized in our memory, and the other ones are just made of clays.
Yeah, okay, we'll take that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
not too much of a decision.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Conor, Bruce Lee or Conor McGregor?
I would have to say, I think Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
McGregor's just a bit of a wild card,
Bit of an arsehole,
but not not a good wholesome bus driver wild card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
a bit more sinister.
Yeah, Jesse, would you be Bruce Lee or Conor McGregor?
Look, I'm a lover, not a fighter, Jason.
Yeah, okay. so neither then. Okay, I'll take that. Yeah. There's two left. Conor, would you choose the famous pork meat in China or Irish stew?
I do quite enjoy the pork.
Oh, controversial.
I didn't give you my answer.
Okay, go for it.
But absence makes the heart grow fonder, doesn't it? So
yeah. Okay.
Chew my right arm off for stew now.
I'll just edit out the bit where you said stew was nice and just leave it in as stew go for pork, and just the Irish will just turn.
My mother will be listening to this.
Your mother will be like, "What? That child may never come home again." Jesse, would you be more the local food there in China, or anything for good Aussie food?
There's the food here is brilliant, but there's always you do sort of crave at home. Obviously, like for Conor, his ideal would probably be Irish stew in a dumpling. But
brilliant.
Sometimes you just crave, and like I miss not having Vegemite. If I've run out, and it's a bit hard at the moment with the pandemic. So just you wake up after a big night and just some Vegemite on toast. It's like godsend.
That Vegemite is, I don't know how to describe it. As a bet with friends of mine out in New Zealand in the rugby, we had a bet on that if we were insisting at the time Ireland could topple New Zealand in the rugby, and they said, well, if they don't, we're going to send you over a jar of Vegemite. We want video proof that you've eaten it. And Ireland got murdered, and it was the most horrendous thing I've ever tasted in my life. I don't know how you guys eat it. What the hell is in it?
Just yeast, I think. But I had a friend at uni from the States, and I showed it to him, and he just like scooped it out with the knife, and he's just slapped it on a bit of bread, and he's like, "Is this how you do it?" And I was like, "Well, I probably wouldn't have had that much, but you can go for it." And his face as he's like, it's just all the moisture just sucked from his head.
Yeah.
And
it's foul. I don't know how you guys eat it, although I know it's like nearly like us and potatoes. It's like part of the staple diet, I think, in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah. You grow up on it, so you're used to it.
Yes, definitely. Yes, Connor, I suppose I'm going to ask the last one to you, since it's a Father Ted quote. It would be reminiscent of me not to ask this one, but are the Chinese, as Father Ted says, are they a great bunch of lads?
Yeah, of course. I had to come all this way to be sure, but I can tell you now that they are a very nice bunch.
Okay.
Yeah, great lads.
Great bunch of lads. Okay, definitely. I have to ask as well, before I let you guys go. Is your jersey and gear and stuff? Can people buy that anywhere?
It's on the O'Neill store.
O'Neill's. Okay, deadly. Yes, we'll try and direct people towards it if I can. Is there anyone you guys want to give Connor? Do you want to give a shout out to anybody at home while you have the chance?
Yeah, I would. I'll just quickly shout out our sponsors here.
Yeah,
we have Vision Pro in Wuxi. Shay, our Waterford Viking, he's
the legend.
DC Centre, legend. We have, if anyone's hearing this and wanting to come and join us, we have a sponsor that is a teacher recruitment company. They're China by Teaching. Get in touch with them, and you.
What are they called? China by Teaching.
China by Teaching.
Okay.
And then Avonmore, actually, being found, they throw us a bit of milk every now and again. But Avonmore is sponsoring us as well. At home, my local club is My Davids, so shout out to everyone from My Davids and everyone from Foxford. Hopefully, I'll be back to see everyone soon. Did you
get to? Did you ever line out with My Davids at any stage, or?
Yeah, I did, kind of underage and junior, and then unfortunately the senior career never took off. Did you?
Were you playing alongside any of the big names from the club that are there now?
Yeah. I would have played underage with Brian Reap.
Oh yeah.
He's probably the hottest prospect at the minute.
Yeah.
And the absolute legend that is Gary Ruan as well, of Mayo fame.
Yeah, Gary, true Mayo name. Yeah.
Yeah, played junior with him. Which was savage.
And your club takes in like isn't it Bahola, isn't that what it is? Bahola, My Davids, or something like that. Yeah.
We actually have a massive catchment area. Bahola, Strayed, Boxford, out as far as Swinford then.
Yeah, I remember reading a little bit about the club. Just I was doing a piece on something. There's some really cool little area outside that's got like a funny name. It's something like Alty McHugh or something like that.
Atty McHugh. Yeah,
Atty McHugh. Yeah, I always thought, I don't know why that name is just kind of stuck with me. Yeah, it's just such a kind of a funny name, Atty McHugh. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Jesse, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Sorry, Connor, you weren't finished. Go on. Yeah.
All right. It was funny. We were talking about the Irish playing in Australia as well. There's two girls from my club, Kelly sisters, Grace and Neve. They've just they went out to Brisbane last year, so they would have been playing with us, kind of young underage.
Oh right, okay.
Honestly, they could have probably played on the men's senior team class.
Yeah, pretty big names out in Australia as well at the moment. Yeah, the women are
from My Davids.
Yeah, that's right. The women are doing pretty well. I had Eilish Considine on the podcast recently enough. She unfortunately guys lost the grand final the other week to Orlo Dwyer's Brisbane Lions. So that's a good one. Yeah, I didn't realise I forgot the two girls were My Davids. Jesse, have you anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, look, just all the past lads and ladies that have been at Suzhou and sort of started the club up, and I'm sure when everyone leaves, they probably think they hope that it would continue. So I guess shout out to them, and it is going quite strong, and I'm sure it'll continue long into the future. So
that's brilliant, yes. And Cambodia beware, Jesse is on the way.
It's going to be your problem.
They're going to be very disappointed.
Or more like, Cambodia, be ready. You've got a new superstar about to join your GAA team. I can't wait. You'll have to.
Who else is moving to Cambodia that you know
about? Nobody that I know, anyway. I know one person out there, but I'm pretty sure she doesn't play GAA, unfortunately.
When you said there's a superstar on their way, I thought you must have known someone else.
Oh no, it's got to be you. It's got to be you. You've hyped yourself up now. And you if you need at least the worst comes to it, a bus driver, a man who can get the Cambodian team around. You just have to get him out there with his bus.
That's right.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, guys, look, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And look, have I suppose nighttime over there. I should say have a good evening over there, since I'm only like getting out of bed here, really. But thanks so much, guys, for coming on. Yeah.
Just one last thing.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Happen to have any listeners in China? The other clubs around the country, I know that a few of them are really trying to kick on at the minute and get started. Sichuan Shamrocks in Chengdu, Shenzhen have a lovely team down there. Beijing, Shanghai, of course, and then Shunde Gaels, which is
the smallest in the world.
Well,
apparently
they
claim
down there as well.
They claim
there as well.
Yeah.
We collared a reporter an RT reporter at the All Asia Games a couple of years ago and made sure that he knew it was us.
Okay.
Just so it's on the record.
Okay, I'll put that down. So yeah, because I think they claim that they're the smallest in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so
on a bad day, we're fairly small.
Okay, we'll have to get them on. We'll bring on Shay from Waterford, and he can take on them. And I reckon there's only one winner there, to be honest.
Okay. All right.
That's
Thanks a million, Jason.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys, for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I'll keep in touch, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.
No worries.
Yeah, take it easy.
Thanks, Jason.
Mind yourself. Best of luck.
Cool.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Coming up the next day on the Loaf of Bread GAA Global, we cut into our next slice.
No, unfortunately for Darren, they were the team we met in the final.
16-1, Ciaran. He didn't tell you that, Jason. I think it was 16. Was it 16-1? Donegal were 1-9, 14s. Ciaran took the club account there, the treasurer. He gave him permission to put the club account on Cavan to win, sir. So the club are building a new state-of-the-art pitch there.
And you got to stand for 10,000 people as well, I'd say.
It's a big project out here.
Oh yes, that's Did you take the plunge and actually back them to win?
I'd love to say yes, but no.
Yeah.
I've had too many horror stories watching Cavan through the years to be that confident. Even going into the last few minutes when we scored the goal, I think it was Conor Madden, and we were points up. You're thinking.
On Slice 7 of GAA Global, I fly from the beautiful China across towards the Middle East and land in the stunningly beautiful Oman, where I meet Darren and Ciaran from Clonlahoman GAA. We chat about life in Oman, if it changed at all since I was there in 2017, how the GAA operates in the Middle East, rivalries and friendships with GAA in Dubai, Kuwait, Bahrain and many others, and the key question, is the famous Omani coffee better than a pint of Guinness? That's next Monday from 9 AM as we continue the journey with 2 slices a week. I'll see you at the arrivals hall, but until then, check out the various clubs on the Instagram page and see all the amazing work they do and some of the nicest GAA gear going. Find the podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter and on TikTok. Email loafofbreadpod@gmail.com or just simply hit the follow button and spread the word of the Loaf of Bread GAA pod across the globe. Slánagi.